Okay, so we are behind the schedule now. We're not going to be waiting for more people to join us. So we have around 100-ish people right now in this. So guys, I appreciate you all taking the time. For those who just join us, all right. So we are starting right now. So today we're going to be talking about LinkedIn growth hacking with zero budget and no time. I am one of those people that wears many hats. So you can imagine that I cannot just simply allocate some time and do a lot of marketing on LinkedIn. So that's why I sort of like use a lot of hacks and a lot of automation and a lot of my team's help to be able to do at least something on LinkedIn. Just a few words for those who are not familiar with my company. So I'm with Belkins. I'm one of the founders here. We started the agency back in 2017, and over the years, we've been able to service over 500 businesses in the United States and Europe. Most of a lot of all of those companies are B2B. They are in about 25 different industries. So for those people who join us, who are in software development, IoT, marketing, advertising, healthcare, doesn't matter. All of those we serviced over the years. And what you see here on the page on this page is like 4 services that my company offers. And you can see here that one of those services is LinkedIn marketing and influencer program. And so we've done some considerable work here, and I'll be happy to share our learnings and what we've achieved over the years on LinkedIn with you, and some of the insights and hacks that we've been able to collect over the years. Okay. So a few stats about LinkedIn. Again, you probably know this, but you also, maybe some of you guys haven't realized what scale of LinkedIn got over the years. So there are almost 722 million users uh, registered on LinkedIn right now. 700 million users. Can you imagine this? There are 55 million businesses pages registered on LinkedIn right now. 55 million businesses, and there are about 61 million senior level executives use LinkedIn. 61 million. Basically, these are a lot of decision makers and a lot of people to recruit, sell to, market to. And so I think that, I mean, obviously LinkedIn right now is one of the biggest networks, professional networks out there. And it's a huge platform for everything, for data, for lead generation, for marketing, for learnings, for development. And it's going to be, huge in the next 5-10 years for sure. And again, right, because as we see with Facebook, as we see with Google, as we see with Amazon, when you get to a certain stage where you are huge, it's very difficult to compete with you, right? Because you have much more data, and obviously, and you can aggregate more and more data here, right? Over the years with our LinkedIn influencer programs, we've seen the following results. So on average, the customers that my team works with, we generate about 50 to 100,000 views per month from the post per customer. 3 out of 4 customers that we work with are featured by LinkedIn. So their content is featured by LinkedIn. And the SSI score or rating is growing by 5-10 points month over month. For those who don't know what SSI is it stands for so sorry, I forgot the word here. So it's a social selling index, and it's measured by basically what you do on LinkedIn, and in comparison with your network, with all of your engagements, your posts, how you are ranking in your network or in your industry. And depending on how high your SSI is, LinkedIn algorithm going to actually help you to promote yourself. So the higher your SSI is, the more visibility you have, the more visibility of your posts have, the more visibility for your brand you have. So definitely, you guys focus on increasing your SSI. The higher it is, the more exposure, the more business you can generate off LinkedIn. And many people don't realize it. And the metric is kind of complex here. So it counts a lot of different variables here. So, but again, the more work you do on LinkedIn, the higher you will be in the ranking, and the more help you would get from LinkedIn team, as well as the LinkedIn algorithm by definition. What I'll do, there is a link actually. You can just basically Google like how to measure SSI or measure my my SSI on LinkedIn, and you will get the first link. But for those who wouldn't be able to get the link, I will attach that in the description for this recording so that you can measure your SSI and see where you are. And then you can, let's do an interesting pilot here. So measure your SSI before you start applying all of the learnings that I'm going to share with you today. And then do some time implementing those learnings, and then measure that afterwards to see how your SSI grew after that. And let me know on LinkedIn or send me an email about your learnings and how it grew. And I'll be happy to share that with my customers as well. I just put that on the company page. All right, so today we're going to focus on 3 topics. Basically, we're going to work on or talk more about LinkedIn posts and audience engagement. I'm going to show some tools that we are using right now. We're going to talk about network expansion and why it's important to grow your network on LinkedIn with your ideal customers. And we're going to also I'm going to share some insights, tips, and tricks for LinkedIn marketing and sales. And I'm going to do that as we go, right? So every kind of section would have something that I can personally share from my own experience. Okay. And by the way, because I'm not checking Q&A right now, and I'm not in chat right now, so it might take me a few minutes before I can answer. Okay. And then I can answer all this question afterwards. All right. Because we kind of are, we still have like only 40 minutes left. So I want to be fast there. All right. So, starting with LinkedIn posts and audience engagement. So for those who doesn't know, so basically when you, so LinkedIn kind of in sales or in marketing can be used for 3 purposes, right? So first, expanding network with ICPs or with ideal customers. The second is messaging or talking to those customers or engaging with them. And the third is using LinkedIn as the media platform where you can create and consume content, right? And many people that I work with, and I did before, I was using LinkedIn more for marketing purposes, where I was aggressively marketing myself and my company to people, sending messages, connecting to them, being more aggressive. But I didn't realize that what if I turn my LinkedIn into a blog of some kind, and what if I going to share my vision, my values, my insights, everything that I learned, some interesting things that I'm reading from my industry with people. And in this way, I can nurture the audience rather than just being more aggressive about this, right? So right now, we've seen a lot of value in content creation, specifically in creating original content for LinkedIn. And by creating original content, I don't necessarily mean like creating articles, like huge articles where you're putting a lot of time and money into this. I mean, even some posts, right? I'm sure you guys are reposting a lot, right? So you see the post, you repost it, you add some comments, right? Or you have a company news and you repost the news by adding something, right? But how many of you guys actually created original content? How many of you actually learned something from your industry and then extensively commented or elaborated on the topic, and then also maybe creating some original imaging or created a PDF that you shared with your audience? I'm sure not many of you, right? So over the years, we've came up with sort of like top 8 different posts and type of posts that you can create to engage your audience, right? So the first type of post is like original post or regular post. It's sort of like just posting where you elaborate on a specific topic, right? It's important that it should be short, to the point. It should have a structure, and it should be clear in terms of what you want to say, right? And definitely, so what you see here on the page is an example of this post, right? And I'm going to be using Brad's page. So you can visit Brad's page, connect with Brad if you are in retail media, in e-commerce. Brad and his company are great in this space. So I'll be using some of the Brad's posts, as I really like what he's doing and what my team is doing with Brad for his content. So basically, what you see here, it's a simple regular post. It has a certain number of characters here, and it has bullet points, hashtags, tags. It's simple. It has an opening. It has the main body or value proposition, and it has call to action, right? And the imaging is simple. So again, here you can basically talk about anything whatsoever. Either there was a news here, right? And you just kind of like, GMD stock is skyrocketing. You can share that few words, few bullet points, why it's happening or what the action plan is. And, that's great, right? Just make sure that it's original, right? The second type of post is actually using external content, right? And by external content, I mean any articles, videos, anything that's going on right now in the market, and just not simply reposting it, but actually referencing it, as well as just commenting and sharing some of your opinions there. It's really important for your audience to understand not just the news, but also how do you feel about it, right? What your thoughts are on this, and what do you stand for, right? The content can be different here, right? My own recommendation here is that the more trending the content is, the more obvious engagements you can get, right? And I'm probably going to talk that in a few minutes, but just in case you guys are wondering whether it makes sense just to post something that's going on right now, something that is trending or under hype, or creating more evergreen content that people can reference to in some time, right? And if you got to do a lot of hashtags, so for example, if you use like hashtag advertising, and many probably didn't realize this, but there are some people that searching for content on LinkedIn. So you go to search bar and you type hashtag advertising, you click, you search for the content, and you're going to see all the posts that were written with this hashtag. So in case you do a lot of company content, or in case you do a lot of personal content, create some hashtags for which people can find your content, and make sure that you're using those hashtags a lot. And if you are, then basically what you will get is along the way, in 6 months, 12 months, whatever, if people are going to be looking for the topic that you created the hashtags for, and you put that hashtag, that people are going to find your post. And it's huge, right? So go ahead after this and sort of like put type a hashtag that you've in your industry, and see how many content or what kind of content you kind of find there. You'll be surprised that not many companies are using hashtags, but if you would do that, then again, you would be better than your competition, right? Again, external content, referencing that content, commenting on it, right? Very simple. The third type is top 5. This one is really interesting, right? Because it captures the attention. So what you do here, you know how to do top 5 things, right? Or you have top 5 things that you wouldn't do, or top 5 mistakes. So basically anything that have some quantitative metric there, either it's top 5 or top 10 or top 3 or whatever. But be sure that you share this, and then you don't just put that in your post, but also put that in your image that you attach to the post, okay? Because in this way, when your prospect, or if someone from your network going to be scrolling down their newsfeed, this will be like a thumbnail. So they're going to look at this and say, oh, really? Okay. But don't just put like top 5 tips for marketers, put those tips as well. So if people want to save this image, right, for later on and then use it, or again, just it will capture their attention, because usually people are scrolling down their headlines, but if they see the headlines and the value proposition, so you bring some value there, that it's huge, right? Very often what I've seen is that if you do this top 5, top 10 based post, you can put like top 3 in the image or in the PDF, and then put a CTA saying that if you want to get top 10, PM me or email me, and I'll send you the top 10 or the full deck, right? That works really well as well. But again, make sure that the imaging that you're using here is clear. It's kind of attractive, right? So you're using the nice fonts, colors, and so on and so forth, and it captures the attention, right? So it doesn't has a lot of, or it's not like dirty with information, right? It's clean, and it's nice looking. And also, don't probably use colors that are frustrating for people, right? So use some neutral colors, or if you're using some bright colors, don't use like really, really bright colors that are just, killing the eyes basically. So this is the third one. The fourth one, interesting, is for graphics or charts. So I really like this one because chart or infographic is a summarized information that brings value. So if you can create, for example, I know like chart about the success of your customers over the years, or how, I don't know, like B2B sales is growing over the years, or how much money does enterprise companies are spending on their marketing. Because again, you read an article, you summarize that article with some metrics, you put that into the chart, you post this chart, bam, you already have original content. So you don't need to do a lot of research. You just create an original content, content that is easily consumed. It's interesting, and a lot of people are going to engage with this and reference and save it, right? Because that's something that you can use. And be sure to use a lot of charts and infographics. Again, the reason why I'm kind of showing all these types of posts here is because you can imagine that if you're doing the same post again, again, and again, it's kind of boring for the audience. So if you're going to be shuffling up those posts with different types of posts, then you're creating more engaging content here. All right. So what I'll do, I'm going to stop here for this post, and I want to do a quick poll here. Okay. So the poll will be about allow panelists to vote here. All right, so I'm launching a poll here for like a minute or so. So it's how often do you check your LinkedIn? Okay, I want to know, guys, how often do you check LinkedIn? So go to polls. It should appear on your screen. Either you do daily, every few days, once per week, or you never use your LinkedIn. Okay, I'm not sure whether I'm going to see people never using their LinkedIn who are on this webinar. But again, maybe someone just lost their way or wants to use LinkedIn but hates it. So. All right, so I think that you're almost done there. Those who didn't vote, go ahead and vote right now. I'm finishing it right now. So, all right, so most of you, so like 85% of you answered the poll. Go ahead and do the poll right now. We still have like 2 seconds right now. Okay, 1, 2. All right, so ending the poll right now. So the results are, so most of you guys, like 77% of you guys are checking your LinkedIn daily. This is great. All right. Okay, so the fourth one, infographic, very simple, right? Just again, one of the really important things here is don't put a lot of content, right? Because the content part is the actual infographic or a chart, right? So by adding additional content in your post, by definition, you would kind of make the post more heavy, so users will be confused about, do I need to read the post or do I need to focus on infographic? Make it simple. Make sure the users are focusing on the chart that you attach to this, and don't focus on the content. You can command the content quickly, or just focus their attention. And again, be sure to put those hashtags here, right? Awesome. So the fifth one, and we have 3 more to go. So the fifth one is a personal story, and this one is great. And I loved what Brett wrote here about the hardest path in life is the one walked alone, right? And many people that are running their own companies, or wearing many hats, working around the clock, are very exhausted, and they kind of lose motivation from time to time. So by sharing your personal story and by community supporting you, you can kind of move on, right? So sharing personal stories and showing that you're not just selling here, but you're human, and this is your kind of blog, would really make the difference for the engagement. So be sure to share any your personal stories or videos or decision that you made for your business lately that impacted your life or your business. And really your audience would love to see and read this. As an example, one of our BDRs, Julia, wrote about her kind of 2 years with Belkins recently, and this post was really engaging and trending. And the reason was that she shared some of her personal feelings towards the job, or the responsibilities, or the company in general, or what she values in her job. So again, be sure while you post this to be kind of more human and use some of that more human-like language, not just the marketing or sales language, right? And also when you add imaging, right, be sure also to personalize it, right? Add your own photo, right? Add any additional things that would connect to you. and that would make the content more trending as well. But again, the same structure, right? You use hashtags, you use bullet points, you make the content clear, you follow the structure. You don't just put a piece of content there, like 2 paragraphs of content, because no one can read that. Have you imagined yourself reading like 2 huge paragraphs of text right now? It's like it's too time consuming, right? You don't do this. All right, the sixth one is an actual like presentation or a deck. This one is really good because here's a great tip for you guys. So whenever you create a post on LinkedIn, if you just attach an image, right, and opposed to that you attach a file, then LinkedIn would promote files on a higher rank. So posts with files are promoted higher and more. So that's why the next time you decide to attach an image, try better convert it into a PDF and attach that image in the PDF, and it would give you more engagements. We've investigated that, and that actually really works. And about this type of posts, it's more about again, creating additional value for your network, right? So if you can package your top 10 insights, or if you can share something or report, and you can put that in the PDF in several slides, and you attach those slides and you comment on some of those slides, and you don't necessarily need to attach the full deck, right? Again, you can attach like 75% of the deck or everything without that last part of learnings, and then you can send that, and you can put a CTA saying that, hey, if you want this, follow the link. If you want this, DM me, comment under this, and that might work really well for you. So again, because the content itself is in this deck, so don't put a lot of content or explanation for that content in the actual post. Just comment, do like a few sentences, and then just attach that deck, and that might work really well for you guys. All right, this one is also really good. So it's video, voice note. So record the video, add few notes, post that video, right? People really, and the short video, people really engage with it. You can put like you can frame that in add some marketing information there, and that might really work there as well. Anything that you can post there that you record by using your phone, your laptop, would really make the difference and make the content more engaging. So if something happened and you're really passionate about something or about the news, don't necessarily write about that. Just record yourself on that, and that again would really make the difference. And then this one is also really cool. So it's a survey type post. So that LinkedIn has a survey feature. So you can create a poll on LinkedIn, you can post it, and then you can see how people are going to be answering those polls. And then this one is really great for creating content. So once you've been posting a lot and you're like out of ideas, and you think, hey, what should I write about next that would be engaging for my audience, that would create the value, you can do a poll, right? For example, what Jin did this, creating the poll, which countless payment methods you use the most during the pandemic, right? Or for example, if you are in software development industry, right, and you do a lot of software development, you can say, hey, which business model would you prefer for your software development vendors or whatever, right? And then depending on the poll, you can then post another post announcing the results of the poll, and then you can elaborating on during the next post on why this one is better than another one, and you can comparing them and so on and so forth. So you can kind of have the whole discussion and the story behind it. And as we all know, storytelling is huge here. So surveys are really great asset for that storytelling and the great foundation for that, so that you can develop that later on other posts, and then reference those posts again and creating the whole thing. So this is really great one. Again, some of my recommendations here. So again, use a lot of bullet points. Don't put just text as it is. Use bullet points. It underlines the idea. It focuses attention on the value, not just an actual text. Okay. Start with the headline. So again, usually people start with a huge chunk of the text, but the thing is that when you post something, everything, the whole like 95% of the text will be hidden under the learn more, and it'll be like the only one sentence on the very top of the post. So make sure that you add a headline that will capture people's attention there, or just the summary of what you're going to be talking today about, or the news or something, right? So use hashtags and tags. So the hashtags, I've mentioned this already. So use hashtags. For example, I use hashtag Belkins in case for most of my posts to make sure that in case someone going to be Googling the company, they can see all the posts that we did, right? I am also doing the hashtag for some of the trending topics. For example, for this webinar, I hashtagged LinkedIn, right? Because if someone going to be looking for something, right? Or the webinar, if someone going to be looking for what are the webinars here, they can look up this, right? So any hashtags, right? For tags, this is interesting. Tag people, right? So if you are talking about, I don't know, like Amazon, tag Amazon, right? If you're talking about any person or any company or any brand that is on LinkedIn, why don't tag them, right? We've seen multiple times that when you tag a brand or like you tag Nike about the post about the Nike, and they can go to comment section and then we'll say, hey, thanks, Michael, and or so on and so forth, right? Or they start a conversation if the post is more arguable, right? So make sure that you're tagging people, okay? The next one is always add a CTA. So I've mentioned this already that having a very clear CTA is very important, right? Because you want people to know what to do next. So do they need to leave a comment? Do they need to subscribe? Do they need to engage with you in a way? So encourage them. Obviously, you cannot have like 100% conversion here, right? But try to use those CTAs as every time to make sure that the structure is clear, right? Then try not to add an external link or external links. And this one is arguable, but again, I'm sharing what I think about this and what we've learned, and then you can either agree or disagree about this, okay? But when you think about this, LinkedIn is a platform, want people to stay on the platform. So if you are attaching external links that making people leave the platform and go somewhere else, then why don't LinkedIn needs to promote this article or this post with their algorithm? It doesn't make sense, right? So we all know when you do Facebook or you do Instagram, a lot of bloggers and kind of they always say, hey, use this link in the first comment or so, or in the description, right? So they don't kind of put that in an actual post, right? Because that will kind of underline the performance. That is why LinkedIn has the same policy. So again, I am saying that you can agree and disagree with me here because we're not able to get the right results. So we've tested this on multiple occasions, and because there are a lot of moving parts here, we were not able to have a clear answer to this, right? And I was trying to Google this as well and do the research, and I didn't find the right information for this one as well. So again, you gamble here, but really, if you can just instead of putting an actual link on an actual post, you can put it under the post in the comment section. Do that. Then use emoji, but not too much. Obviously, emojis, they will create more entertainment and sort of like more flavor to the and more emotions to the kind of context of the post, right? So do put some of those emojis there, and there are like tools that you can Google, like emoji generator, where you can find some really good emojis there, and just add them, right? And add some structure to there, right? But not too much, right? I hate when you put like, or people put like tons of emojis that there are no text or anything, but only emojis, which is like a bit weird because it's still more about business-like communication, right? And then diversify post types to engage your audience. That's why I've mentioned 8 types of posts, right? Make sure that you're not just posting the same type of post, but try to diversify it, try to play around with different types of posts. And by the way, I mentioned 8 types of posts. If you know any other types of posts that you can do, go ahead and put that in chat or email me those posts, and definitely wanted to expand on this. But these 8 were the most popular ones that we've seen over time. Okay. So another great recommendation or tool. I'm not sure if all of you guys are familiar with this, but this is this tool called Lamppod. You can Google it, as well as the website is lamppod.com. I'm not affiliated with this tool, but I actually use it a lot. And what does the tool do is they have different channels, or they call them pods. And in that pod, you have you can see here on the screen, you have like 112 people and 98 people, 92 people, right? So these are real people like myself that are in that pod. And what Tool does, and it's a Google extension, right? What Tool does, it allows you to get that automatic engagement from that person who are in your pod. So whenever you post something, you can streamline your performance for that particular post by using the pod, and that would give you that first a few dozen or a few hundred engagements, and that engagement level will help you to be at top of your newsfeed, and that would give you that network effect, right? So imagine this: you are connected to me, right? And I have like 10,000 connections on LinkedIn, right? And if my post is trending, if my post has more engagements than all of my network posts, then it will be on top of my network list. And if it is, then most of my network, while going to that newsfeed, they will see my post and engage with that post. And if you engage with my post, that all of your network will engage with that post as well, because they would see you engaging with my post, right? I am not sure if you're following here, but the idea is that you are not promoted by LinkedIn algorithm if you just post it, because you have very few engagements. So by exposing yourself to these posts, you will be able to generate some additional initial engagements, and after this, uh, and after this, your organic view is going to grow by definition, because your network will be added to that kind of exposure, right? And so it's a paid tool, by the way. The cost right now, I think it's $5 per pod. So I recommend here adding 10 or 15 pods. So you kind of so the way you do that, there are different pods here, right? So there are different locations, there are different titles here. So for example, you can find the pod with marketers, you can find pod with CEOs, we can find pod with entrepreneurs, right? And the way you do this is you add yourself to those pods, and then you can be exchanging engagements with those people. So add 10, 15 pods. I think that's the silver line there. Then add relevant pods, right? So if you are promoting your services and your products in the US, then why don't you need pods with people where their network is in Europe, right? It just doesn't make sense. So you go to and add those to those posts. So you can actually go to a pod and you can see what kind of people are in the pod. And if you like the people, your peers in that pod, then just stay in the pod. And then keep pods with at least 70 to 80 people in them. So whenever you have a pod, you can request an access. And once you are granted an access, you can see how many people are in the pod. And there are some pods where they have like 20, 30, 40 people, and you're paying the same, like you're paying $5 still, even if it's 40 or it's 80. So obviously, if you are in the pod where there are 80 people, you can have more engagements, right? Obviously. So make a post at 5 a.m. EST to maximize exposure. So that's what we've seen. So because the way the pods works and the way the engagement works is that it's added over time. So the earlier you make a post, the more time in a day that post would be trending. So more people and more exposure. Because if you make a post late in the night, obviously no one gonna read that, because who are checking their LinkedIn at like 12 a.m. or something, right? Or it's better to binge watch something on Netflix, right? So and then create original comments. So when you do pods, you can ask people to like it or leave a comment, and you can determine what kind of comments they can leave, right? And Lamppod offers some generic comments, but if you can spend some time and you can create some original comments, and you can create 5-10 comments, you can then post those comments to make those even. Again, these are not like fake; these are real comments, but more like automatic comments to be more engaging for the people who are going to be checking that pod, right? And by the way, you know, when you look at the post, so you can say, hey, most of the posts that Michael did, or that the people are doing with this Lamppod, all of the engagements are fake. It's not going to produce the real results, right? So here's an example. If you have, let's say, 200 people in your pods together, right? So 200. So you're going to get 200 engagement. Thus, you're going to have, let's say, 200 views, right? Because the engagement, the view, the same, right? When you make a post, you will see that there are some posts that you're going to do that are going to have 600 views or 700 views, and most of those views are going to be fake, right? But you're going to have posts that are going to do 5,000 views, 10,000 views, 25,000 views. We've seen some of the posts that generated like 95,000 views, 100,000 views, right? And ask yourself, like, if I'm doing the post, and one post using the same number of pods, or some same number of pierces in the pod, would generate me 500 views, opposite to the post that generate me 95,000 views. Are those 95,000 views are fake? No, right? So only 500 are fake, and then 90,000 are there. But you wouldn't be able to generate those 95,000 if you wouldn't boost that initial 500 that would create that exposure, that network effect, right? So the idea is that by boosting that initial engagement, you would have maximum exposure to generate that extra organic, original views and comments, and be able to put your name in front of those customers. Okay. I mentioned already that building your brand and expanding your audience on LinkedIn is very important. And the reason why it's very important is because I've told already that if you create content on LinkedIn, right, and then if you post that content, then your audience can see that. So the idea is that how should you increase that audience to turn that audience into your own followers, right? Because imagine this, a lot of companies are spending tons creating blogs, right? Like you have a company blog, you have copywriters doing the blogging, you are blogging. And the idea is that how we can increase our sign-up list, how more people can sign up for my emails, for my articles, whatever, right? And usually you add like a few people every month, and you're growing that list, and you're really struggling with that list, right? What if like you think about LinkedIn as that platform? What if you were able to create very nice page on LinkedIn, use that as your own blog, make people follow that, and expand your audience with your ICPs, or the people that you're selling your services or products to, and you make them 10,000, 25,000, 50,000 of those people in your network, then your LinkedIn is an asset. It's a blog that the people that sign up for it because you curated your network. And if you create original content and those people engage, and they engage, right? Because there is a conversion there. So 20% of the people engage, 30% of the people engage. So the more you expand your audience, the higher that 20% is for you, right? So then it will be a few thousand. And if you do that in a very regular manner, then those leads are nurtured. So in a way, you're nurturing the audience, and you turn that audience into your customers, into your partners, into again, maybe you can use that for hiring, right? And you're building your hiring base there. But think about that, right? You can automatically expand your audience. So there are some tools there for this. So one is obviously Sales Navigator. We all know it. I'm not going to be talking about it a lot, right? But one of the problems with Sales Navigator is whenever you do a search, you always have that 100 pages of the search, right? And if you want to automate that, you cannot go beyond that 100 pages. And usually you do the search and you see like, hey, my search was matched with 25,000 people. But if you look at, let's say, 25 contacts a page, and there will be like 100 pages, so it's 2,500, then you cannot go beyond that 2,500. And whenever you do the same search using the same text and the same filters, you come up with the same result. So what is the answer here? You need to be more targeted. So instead of putting a country, put a state. Instead of putting a state, put a county. Instead of county, put a location, right? So do that, right? Play around with different titles, right? Instead of CMO, put Chief Marketing Officer, and vice versa, right? Use different keywords, right? People put a lot of keywords, for example, like podcast host, right? In the description, use for the piece of the keywords, right? And so be more specific. Use keywords for filtering. Play around with different titles, with different geographies, with different industries to get the match, right? And always rotate that. So start with this city and then go to another one within the same states. And in this way, you can have more of those 100 pages in the search, and you can have more targeted individuals in your network as a result, right? So think about this when you do your next research, okay? And then use some tools. So the way you can do this is you can automatically set up a search on Sales Navigator. You can connect it to this tool, either Phantom Buster or Meet Alfred here. And what those tools do is they will automatically send connection requests to those people from that filter list that you made with Sales Navigator, right? And then you can set up some sequences to make it more real. For example, you can set up some messages. You can set up some other additional actions. So for example, so we are using both tools right now, and there is a difference between them. So we use this Phantom Buster here, where we already have a list. So Phantom Buster can connect to a list, external list. So you have a list with, let's say, 500 target accounts, and they're really filtered, they're really curated, and you've spent a lot of time manually adding them. So, and you wanted to have different buckets of those contacts. You can say, hey, these contacts I found on Forbes. This one I found on National Geographic, right? This one I found in, I don't know, Crunchbase, or this, or for example, you know, you are a VC and you're approaching some startups, right? And you can say, hey, these startups raised Series A, this Series B, this Series C, for example, right? And then depending on the batch, you can personalize your message, and then you can connect to Phantom Buster to be able to send that custom message to that specific list, so that you are more personalized. So they will be sending for that specific list from the Excel document. So you don't necessarily do that through just simple search, but you can have that very targeted list there. And we really use this kind of tool for this. And then, but one of the problems with this Phantom Buster, and you can see here, is it doesn't send sequences, it just sends requests. So if you want to send an actual sequence, sequence is a number of messages that can be sent one by one with certain time between them. Then you use Meet Alfred. So Meet Alfred is more about also creating that audience and then targeting the audience with sequence. So there will be an initial message sent with the connection request. And then after that connection, or once that request is accepted, then going to send a follow-up, and then another follow-up, and then another follow-up, and so on and so forth. And by the way, when you send a connection request with these tools, you can customize it. So instead of just sending a connection request right away, it can go and check the prospect LinkedIn and like their recent post, or for example, can endorse their skill, right? And if that is the case, then that person will see you commenting something or liking their post and then endorsing their skill, and then the conversion from that to accept connection request is higher, obviously. So you can customize that, okay? And then, so some of the things here, so when you try to automate, obviously LinkedIn hates automation, right? Because if you automate, it means that you're hacking. It's not true. You're using them, right, as to get a commercial gain or whatever. And they really don't have a lot of automation on there, so they don't develop those. So that's why there are a lot of tools like Meet Alfred and Phantom Buster, the guys that are making money of this by creating some simple automation. So the way you do this is you want to know what are the limitations for the LinkedIn, right? So for example, we've seen that by sending around 100 new connections per day, you're okay. So within a month per profile, you can send under, let's say, 2,000 or under 3,000 new connections. But then if your conversion from a connection request to an actual by the way, I think I'm out of time. Okay, so quickly, so if your average conversion between the connection sent, request sent, and actual connection accepted is 20%, so it means that you need to keep that number of connection requests sent under 1,000, because if it's more, then LinkedIn gonna kind of block you because you're doing a lot of automation. So you can withdraw some of those old connections to add new connections. And by keeping that level of new connection at under 1,000, you can be okay there, right? And obviously, as one of the last things that I recommend here is, don't sell to people with connections. I hate when people connect to me with a page, hey, I do this, I'm connecting because I'm selling you something. No, I mean, build relationships, right? Like, commend people. We are in the same industry, right? You like what I'm doing, right? Why do you need to sell me right away? Okay. All right. So that's kind of it. I hope you got some value out of it. So I know we have like 30 more minutes, and I have some questions here. All right. So what I'm doing here right now, I will go to chat right now first. Okay. And read the chat. Or you know what? I'll do QA first. Okay. Let me do QA first here. All right. Closing the chat here. All right, okay, I'm doing QA here. So do you need to have a premium account to do most of these LinkedIn hacks? No, actually. So you can do some of those hacks without premium. So content and Lamppod for sure, you can do without LinkedIn Premium for this. Could you please share some insights for individuals to get highlighted on the platform? So the way you got featured by LinkedIn is by creating an engaging content that is appreciated by the audience in terms of how many likes and comments they receive, and comparing to all other posts that were created in that industry or for that topic. And in this way, they create this list of featured posts for a day or for the week or for the month, and you can be in that featured list. Will you be able to have the recording of this afterwards? Of course. Yeah, I'm gonna send the recording. Any vendors do you recommend to post this content for us? Actually, my team does this. So we create content and we create images. We do all of this on your behalf. We curate the topics and do all of this. So I will leave my email address. It's michael@belkins.io. So you can write me about this and I can help you. And there are some other vendors that I can share with you as well. So what is your opinion about using LinkedIn article versus post? So the thing is that articles are not that kind of promoted by LinkedIn. So, and articles are kind of lengthy, right? So I wouldn't say that I'm for articles, right? Because the thing is that think about this, when you create article for the LinkedIn, you wouldn't get the SEO and you wouldn't get keywords and your other marketing things. But when you do article for your blog, then Google gonna rank you for this. So I would probably create article for blog and I would create post for LinkedIn. Can you use Lamppod as a company page? You can, but it wouldn't give you that much views and organic. So the thing is that it's really about personal brand and building personal relationships. So that's why Lamppod is far more effective when you do that for personal page. Are you saying that this post in the post to create engagements? Their post. So you create an actual post, okay? And then once you created the post, you go to Lamppod, you do the whole boosting, and then Lamppod helps you to streamline the performance for that post. But you don't do an actual post with Lamppod. What business theme would I be looking for? Your iPod with people in my industry, competitors, or pod with my ICP? You know what? You probably wouldn't be able to get the pod with your. You wouldn't be able to get your pod with your kind of ICP. So you're probably going to look for people in your industry that would have the same ICP. So though, if those people gonna like your post, then their audience gonna see that. So by definition, you would be exposed to their network who will be your ICP, right? The last pods, are those for free or paid? So all of them are paid. It's a $5 per pod when you are being connected. Any list of add-ons and extensions I can find to figure out myself. You know what? You probably can just Google it. I've showed like 3 different tools right now, and so these are my favorite ones, but I'm sure there are others. Can you talk about your Belkins email extraction tool? We actually closed that one. So we've had that tool running for some time, but then we've had some we tried to automate a lot of stuff there, and we had some problem with LinkedIn regulation team, so they asked us to shut it down, and we shut it down. So yeah, so that's all. I'm not probably going to be able to talk about that, but there was a story behind that. That's why my SSI is much lower than it was before, and I was kind of blocked by LinkedIn for like a month or so. But situation was solved. So we shut that down. How do you make it such that Lamppod it's not spammy, scammy, and join the right pod? Yeah, so join the right pod, create a few comments, and just don't again don't. Use Lamppod a lot. Just use that to get those first engagements, and then just work with your audience and work on quality of the content. If I have LinkedIn lead account, does that include Sales Navigator for free, or it's a separate cost? So I think that's a separate cost. I think that you would need sign up for Sales Navigator. Is it safe to use LinkedIn automation tools? I hear LinkedIn blocks accounts who use automation. That's true. They block it. So that's why you don't need to use that a lot. You need to keep some limits, as I mentioned, with sending connection requests, right? Or using the Lamppod. So you need to keep it certain limitation, right? Um, and yeah, they might block you. And I mean, that's the risk you're taking, right? You need to hustle to get the result, right? Thanks for this seminar. Can I get a copy of this deck? Yes. Yes, you can, Adam. Margaret, what would you say is the most important metric that measures success when posting? The metric you would share with your team. So really, views are paramount here. The more views you have, the more exposure you have. So I would really count views there. I mean, also, the idea why you do this, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to generate appointments, you want to generate leads, you want to generate sales. So make sure that you have all of those metrics connected. So you connect how I'm growing my audience, how my content is performing, how many appointments I can generate as a result of this exposure, right? And how these appointments turn into sales. So all of these metrics should be important, right? Because if you are not generating appointments and you're not generating sales, then what's the point of investing into this, right? And there is Alex says that there is a trade-off between LinkedIn posts and promoting your LinkedIn page, generating traffic and potential leads. We see website SEO and putting the article there, assuming website SEO won't work that well if we will just repost our LinkedIn post content there. Could you elaborate on this, please? Right. So I think that you definitely need to do both. You need to diversify, right? You remember like back in 2017-ish, Facebook changed their algorithm and a lot of publishers just went down, right? Because they were really heavily focusing on that algorithm, right? So I think that the idea is that you need to diversify. Right now, we are focusing on both the SEO and article. We're doing posts and we're going to be doing more posts, our personal posts, because we're focusing more on delivering that to the customers rather than just doing that for ourselves. We have too much business to handle. But yeah, you know what? I'm not sure I have an exact answer what you're looking for this one, Alex. Thanks, Michael. Recommendation for using LinkedIn Sales Navigator account for more than one person. Yeah, you can we use multiple Sales Navigators right now for different purposes. What is the one thing you would emphasize more on? You would emphasize more on you know what? I mean, again, create original content and do that in a very systematic manner. So you wouldn't kind of just use that LinkedIn for like a week or so, and then that's it, right? You do that month over month, do that for a year and see what kind of results you can generate per year, right? So if you do that in a regular fashion, then generating 50,000 views per month in a year, you would end up generating 500,000 views, which is insanely a lot, right? If you personally have more connections that the company page has followers, is it useful to post via the company page and repost personally? Yeah, for sure. You circulate the content, right? You post, you repost, you create original content, and so on and so forth. So definitely do that. All right. So we have 2 more minutes, guys. If you have any additional questions in the Q&A, let me know. And then, yeah, so you're changing some tools here, different system like EAP together. Okay. You can use the pod like for forever. It's a $5 per pod per month. All right, awesome. Okay, guys. So all right, so I have a few more questions here. Yeah. All right, so 2 more questions. So when you repost, analysts asked, when you repost, you create a new post, it's better to embed the link of the post in your post instead of just sharing the post. I actually didn't see the exact difference, so I think you can do both and see what the difference is. I don't have an answer to that. Then when you repost something, you create a new post, it's better to embed. Okay, so that's the same answer. Okay, the same question. All right. Okay, guys. So listen, if you want to learn more, follow Belkins.io influencer marketing page. You can learn some details there. Check out our blog. We create a lot of content about different types of marketing, appointment setting, lead research, lead generation, and influencer marketing on LinkedIn. Check it out. I will. So my email address is michael@belkins.io. You can reach out to me with any questions whatsoever, as well as if you need to help us, or if you need any help with your LinkedIn, and because you don't have time and bandwidth to create content, you can contact me, and I can talk through what could work better for you. And then if that's something that would work for you, then we can work together. All right. Awesome. So we are out of time, guys. Really appreciate your time today. So we've been recording this, so I will share this recording with you after this. I have your email addresses, so appreciate you all taking the time today, and I hope you enjoyed it. And all right, and I'll talk to you again. All right. Cheers now, guys. Take care.